Hello, my name is Tyler McCall with the Center for Presidential History at SMU. Today I'm joined by Dr. Spencer McBride, historian and expert on religion and American politics. Dr. McBride, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
First off, I wanted to ask, what do you think was the most far-reaching historical consequence of Joseph Smith's run for president?
Yeah, so I mean, as most people can guess, Joseph Smith doesn't win his presidential race. He doesn't even make it to election day. So what's the significance of this campaign that never succeeded? And I think its main historical significance is that it illuminates some of the obstacles that existed in the American political system that prevented universal religious freedom. We have this narrative that we celebrate in the United States of exceptional religious freedom. And in many ways, we do have a higher level of religious freedom than many other countries. But if we think that universal religious freedom was established at the time of the revolution, we are missing a big part of history. And what Joseph Smith's presidential campaign does, even though it was unsuccessful, is it showcases just how severe religious persecution could be. But he was also saying, hey, here's some laws and some policies and philosophies of governance that are obstacles to us ever having universal religious freedom. And specifically, he's pointing out the states' rights philosophy. That's the big problem that he saw. And so the legacy of his unsuccessful campaign is really illuminating political obstacles to universal religious freedom.
Very interesting. In what way do you think your work can shed light on some topics in the news today? Can you think of any examples that might be helpful for facilitating connections?
Yeah, I think sometimes we look at the people that are outside the two major parties. And the two major parties in Joseph Smith's days were the Whigs and the Democrats. And now today, of course, it's the Democrats and the Republicans. But in either case, sometimes you get these people that are running campaigns outside these two major parties. And it's easy to write them off because usually they don't have a chance of winning. But I think what Joseph Smith's third party run does is has us look at third party runs in our own time and think, what does this tell us about the discontent of a certain portion of the American electorate? There are people that are going to vote and support these kind of outside long shot campaigns, not because they think it's going to succeed, but because there's something wrong with the status quo. And I think we can look to Joseph Smith's campaign and say, what did his followers, his supporters think was wrong with the two major political parties, or that the two major political parties weren't going to solve? And we can do that today. We can look at these people running from outside these two major parties and say, hey, what does this tell us about the discontent of Americans on the margins?
Absolutely. If you could pick one story from your work to give a little preview of what you're going to talk about on Thursday, what would you choose?
Yeah, I think it's this moment, and it's early on in the history and in my talk on Thursday, when Joseph Smith visits the White House. This is before Joseph Smith has any ambition to run for office himself. And he goes, and these are the days you can knock on the White House door. And he goes to Washington, D.C., he knocks on the door, he gets a meeting with President Martin Van Buren, and he gets to lay out his case to President Van Buren. Essentially, the Mormons had been expelled from the state of Missouri under threat of extermination. Their property had been taken from them, and they wanted redress and reparations for that lost property. And this is a moment where Joseph Smith gets to sit down with the President of the United States and make his case. It doesn't go well. And in fact, Van Buren declines to help the Latter-day Saints. And this becomes the kind of the linchpin in this story. This is the moment where Joseph Smith begins to think, I can't rely on those that are in power to help a religious minority group. I have to take matters into my own hands. I need to affect constitutional reform and change, et cetera. And so that story of Joseph Smith going to Washington, D.C., it's kind of quixotic. There's humorous parts, but ultimately it is what sets Joseph Smith on a path to run for president 4 years later.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. McBride, thank you so much for joining me today, and we look forward to seeing you on Thursday, September 9th at 6 o'clock p.m.
I'm looking forward to it.